And welcome in to Press Box Live on this Wednesday evening. We're getting started a little later than usual. We hope you're all safe from the storm, a violent storm that hit us. Tavaras Hardy is going to be our guest. He's the very fine basketball coach, men's basketball coach at Loyola, Maryland University, Loyola University, Maryland. Tavares, we're going to get started with you in just a minute. I got to pay a couple bills, but it's good to see your face in the plates. All right. Looking forward to chatting with you. Pressbox Live is brought to you every Monday and Wednesday evening by C3 American Exteriors. Call now to get your roof damage repaired for just the cost of your deductible. Go to c3america.com now for your free roof inspection. And as I say every Monday and Wednesday nights, there's three boxes you got to check when you need to get your roof repaired or replaced, because it's an expensive proposition if you're a homeowner. Got to know the people you're dealing with. You got to like them. And most importantly, you got to trust them. And those three boxes get checked for me at C3 American Exteriors. I know one of the owners very well. They stand behind their work, but more important than standing behind their work, they do great work in the roofing and exterior replacement business. Joining us right now is very fine men's basketball coach, Tavaras Hardy. Seems like just yesterday we were talking, Tavaras.
No, thank you for having me, Stan. Always a pleasure talking to you. Always a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge dropped on me. And so looking forward to tonight's discussion.
All right. Well, unfortunately, Gary Stein had to be away. He's the voice of the UMBC Retrievers men's basketball program. I'm going to start asking you a question there. Do you know his replacement, Ryan Odom's replacement over there?
I know him a little bit, just because, obviously he coached in the Big Ten, which is where I played. So got a chance to watch some of their stuff when he was at Penn State. One of his new assistant coaches is a good friend of mine. And so get a chance to talk to those guys, bumped into them on the road. Just a good group from what I can tell so far.
Yeah. You like the rest of the guys around town?
Absolutely. Kevin Brodus is my man. We go back. We were assistant coaches at Georgetown together. So always root for him and his success. Got a chance to get to know Juan Dixon a little bit throughout being out here. We're the same year. His Maryland team won a national championship my senior year of college. So always, feel a little piece of that championship, considering they beat Indiana, who we competed against.
And how about Pat over at Towson? You know him?
Yeah, we bump into each other. I don't know him well, but always cordial, always good conversations.
And I guess the Navy head coach Ed over there, pretty.
Yeah, I've known him for a while. I mean, when I was an assistant at Northwestern, he was the head coach at Penn State. So got a chance to see him throughout the years.
And you guys bump heads twice a season.
Twice a season normally. Last year it was about 3, 4, 5, 6 times, whatever it was with COVID. But he's done a great job with that program. They had a good start last year, and it was good for us to be able to knock them out. That felt good.
I'll bet it did. Hey, I'm going to want to talk to you about your star player last year who got drafted in the first round. But I did want to jump in and ask you a question. And we're following the Baltimore Orioles now that are trying to do a rebuild in baseball. When you essentially took over, you're trying to do a rebuild. How did this pandemic affect sort of the game plan of what you were trying to accomplish?
Yeah, it was tough, and I can say this to you all. I don't say it around my players much, but it did. It was a challenge in the fact that it was year 3 of what we're trying to build, and so we feel like we've done things the right way. I would trade anything. Year 1, the way we were able to take the guys we inherited and help them grow, help them develop. That was our plan from the beginning, and they did. And then so going into year 2, a lot of those guys were ready, and we recruited at a really high level and was able to take another step. And now year 3, you have all these goals and expectations to build upon all those things. And just it was a challenge. We started late December. We were the last team in college basketball to play a real game, and it affected us. It took us a while. I like to tell, we were like the Flintstones back in the day when they'd be trying to get the car started and they'd be running in place and the car wouldn't move. That's how I felt during the year at the beginning of the season. But we finally got going at the end, and it was good to be able to make it to the championship game and let our guys get a taste of what that's all about. And hopefully that experience will allow us to move forward in the future and maybe get that game.
How necessary was it for you, and did you learn from the experience? How necessary was it to not let the players see how frustrated you were by what was going on around everybody?
Yeah, I mean it was a challenge. I'm not sure I did the best job of it, to be honest with you. It was a different type year for everyone, and I say this all the time. It wasn't just us. It wasn't just coaches. It wasn't just the players. It was our bosses, our ads, our presidents, our senior VPs, like our wives. Everyone was going through it, and so at the end of the day, you gotta do the best you can. Keep doing what's right. That's a big staple for us, and our mission to provide these guys with the best student athlete experience we can. We stayed the course with that mission and tried to do the best we could with it. And our guys, they got better, they grew, and they're all excited to get back to some sense of normalcy. But I think we're all got stronger after last year.
Now, one of the things I do know about you from Ryan Eichenbrod, your SID over there, he told me when you first got hired, says he's got some connections internationally. And when you say we feel like we did things right, I know that that's part of your equation, is that you think you can get a sort of a high level international player that might not know the difference between USC and Loyola, and you're able, because of connections, to get them. Did you talk about how you got your connections internationally?
Yeah, it started off, when I first got the job, I had a lot of people that I know and trust that were hitting me up saying, you need to talk to this guy, Ivo Simovic. And Ivo Simovic also had a lot of guys that he knew and trusted saying, you need to talk to this first-time head coach, Tavaras Hardy. And we ended up meeting in San Antonio. I was a day or two into the job, and it just was a phenomenal meeting. We talked about everything but recruiting in regards to this game. We talked, strategy, offense, defense, program building, culture, and it just was a perfect match. We really enjoyed each other, and we wanted to start this process, start this journey together. And then when he got there, he kind of mentioned, he said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I got some guys we should look at recruiting." And I had no idea he had some bazookas in his back pocket. But just he's an incredible guy, incredible relationships throughout, the U.S., but especially overseas. And one thing that we've done, Stan, is, we go after the right fit guys, no matter where they're from.
Loyola is a unique kind of place.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've been lucky that the guys over there, it's not that they don't know that there's a difference in terms of us and the Power Five and all that stuff, is just they value relationships, they value academics, and they value system and style of play. And so that's why we've been able to have some success. And one thing that Santi Aldama would tell you, we spent the draft night with him and his family, is we never wavered from the things that we told him in the recruiting process. We let him play the way that we told him he would play. We helped him develop the way we told him we would help him develop, and he had an incredible experience. And so he and his parents are super appreciative of that opportunity. And again, credit Evo for making that introduction, but credit to Loyola and all of us for holding true to our word.
How tough is that when you have a kid? He got, from what I understand, Jalen Smith a year before got a 4-year deal. He played the 2 years at Maryland, got a 4-year rookie deal at 19 million. I hear Sante's deal is probably more like 9 or 10 million with Memphis. That's serious money to guys like you and me.
Yeah.
But how tough is that knowing that the if money wasn't part of the equation, the real best thing for the kid would be to play another 1 or sometimes 2 years to grow as a player. But boy, that's tough to turn away that kind of money.
Yeah, and a credit to Santi and his parents. They think about things the right way. They sought advice. They didn't rush into their decision. He continued to, unlike a lot of guys who, I've had experience coaching at the highest level. Uh, soon as second semester hit, a lot of guys stopped going to class, stop worrying about it because they feel like I'm going to be a professional. I want to put my mind right into it. Santi never did that. Santi finished his courses even as he was making the decision to go into the draft. And to be quite honest, Stan, he was trying to figure out a way to keep taking classes even as he was beginning his NBA career, because that's important to him and it's important to his parents. But at the end of the day, yes, we do feel if he would have come back, we could have helped him continue to develop. But when you have programs and teams that have shown you that type of interest, especially the type of interest Memphis showed, where they were willing to take him in the first round.
Yeah, that's
I'm of the opinion if someone's that interested, you go
yeah.
and take care of business academically, so that you can come back and finish if that's important to you. But you can't turn down that type of opportunity.
How tough is it though for a kid like him or like Jalen, who I know you watch at Maryland, when they come into the NBA and some go to that developmental league, but some of them, like Jalen, was up on their roster most of the year, and you're not playing the minutes. Are there things that the player can get better at just by practicing against better players?
Yeah, I had a long conversation with Josh Okogie, who we had for 2 years at Georgia Tech, who's now with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it's so individual based in terms of what's right, but no one can tell you. You have to know for yourself. But certainly, they're going to develop you in the NBA if they invest that type of money in you. And so I know that for Jalen and for Santi, their best basketball is ahead of them. Even Josh Okogie, their best basketball is ahead of them. And so it's those guys' jobs to get them better. Now, again, we feel like we could have gotten them better as well.
Yeah,
But at the same
but they
time,
wouldn't have had or
yeah,
19 million dollars in their pocket.
yeah, exactly. And again, but ultimately our goal is to help these young men, pursue and accomplish their dreams and goals. And they're all of them. They want to play at that level, and when you have that opportunity guaranteed for you. Now, I will say this, and I said this to my staff. I said it with Santi. If he didn't feel like a team was as interested in him as he felt, then you do come back to school.
Yeah,
If there's the risk of going late second round and not getting a guaranteed contract and not getting drafted, for a person like him who wants the college experience and enjoy the college experience,
yeah,
then you wouldn't leave the college experience. But if there's an opportunity where they're going to help you develop, then you got to take it.
yeah. Well, the key there is because a player like Santi or Jalen, they're not going to, by coming back the third year, they're not going backwards as players. That very, very rarely happens. But you do run the risk of an injury, which
Yeah,
could take
absolutely.
you out of that. Suddenly, you're not worth $100. Anymore.
Exactly. And that's, there's insurance policies and things like that
Yeah,
that you can take up, but that would have been nerve wracking for us as coaching
yeah,
staff. You just never want to be in those positions where you feel like you are jeopardizing someone's future. Now, I told Santi from the moment he walked through the door, I didn't know he was going to be a first round draft pick after 2 years. It would be a fib if I told you I thought that. But I knew he had a chance to be a first round draft pick.
yeah,
And I knew that he's going to have a long pro career. Um, but one thing, I never catered to him as a player. I challenged him. I challenged him to do the right things. And if he would have come back, that was going to be my promise to him and his parents again. that we were going to continue to challenge you, continue to push you, get you out of your comfort zone, and see where things go from there.
Yeah.
And credit to him, he allowed us to coach him.
I think that's the way to bring young players up in any sport is you got to really make them earn the promotion and the next step. We're talking to Tavaras Hardy, the head men's basketball coach at Loyola University, Maryland. You've got this connection with the international players. How tricky is that when they come in and their style of game might be vastly different than the 6 or 7 other guys you have on your team? Does it take a while to mesh the local game, so to speak, versus the international players?
Not for us, and that is something that international players have to be aware of. One of the things I mentioned earlier, making sure you're going to the right system. We play an open style of basketball, more similar to European basketball, and it's really what the NBA is going to right now. I'm good friends with Damon Stoudemire, and not to tell all our business, but we have some conversations from time to time. He's now an assistant coach with the Boston Celtics, and he flat out told me the other day, a lot of what we're doing in the NBA is what I saw when I've watched your teams. And so I think between the way the game is being shifted, ball movement, player movement, things that Coach Bill Carmody taught me 20 years ago, I think that stuff is crept into the international game years ago, and now it's creeping into the NBA. And so those guys feel confident playing the way that we play, especially the bigger guys, because we let them play. We don't have them just standing around the basket waiting for someone to throw it to them. We let them make decisions. We let them handle the ball, and that's important to those guys, and that's why they enjoy playing for us.
I'm sure you watch a lot of NBA games. I'm amazed at Luka on the Mavs that he with that body type he's got, the things he's able to do with it. That's a real unique skill set he's got to be able to take that big a body,
Yeah.
a wide frame, and move it the way he does.
Yeah. No, he's a special player. I think he's the best pick and roll player in the world right now.
Yeah.
And it's because he can score, but he's also super unselfish. That's a deadly combination when you're a great scorer, but you enjoy passing and you make the right passes. I really love watching him play, and I hope some of my guys can duplicate that.
So you were a 2-time All Big Ten player. You played under Kevin O'Neill for a couple of years. You played under Bill Carmody for a couple of years. Then you went off. You played in Finland pro ball for 1 year. I'm taking it that after that you said, I'm not going to make my real money playing basketball. You then went into the business sector. You worked for J.P. Morgan in financial planning, wealth management. What was the turning point that said, I really want to get back into basketball?
Yeah, as I took that job, and I wasn't 100% sure I was done playing, but I was smart enough not to spend all the money that I just made overseas. And so I took an internship, paid internship. And in the process of that summer, I got offered a job that I felt like if I don't take this now, it's not going to be available for me if I keep playing. And like you said, I wasn't making so much money that it was like, you got to keep doing it. And so anyway, during that time while I was working at JP Morgan, Jim Delaney, the commissioner of the Big Ten, who I had met a few years before when I was a student athlete at Northwestern, he asked if I would consider coaching an AAU team. His son was on it, and actually a good friend of mine, Brian Wardle, was coaching the team. Brian Wardle had just decided to make the leap to go to college, and now he's the head coach at Bradley. But anyway, it was during that time, during those 3 years coaching those guys, that kind of sparked a passion for coaching that I didn't really understood. I didn't even know I had.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah, and so like I started really getting into it. My teams, I watched these guys develop. They got to be pretty good. We took a group of we had one Division I player, and we went out and we won a Nike main event in Vegas, 7-0, beat all the big time programs that were out there. And so that kind of started to get the ball rolling. And then Craig Robinson, who Michelle Obama's brother, he was assistant coach at Northwestern at the time. He and I started talking about the possibility of coming into college, and I ended up taking his spot when he went on to become the head coach at Brown University. and that's how it all began.
That's really an interesting story. Um, the team you took over, I noticed in reading your bio when you took over 3 years ago. Now you're about to enter your fourth season. Your team immediately went up significantly in shooting percentage, and you went up in assists. I mean, markedly improved.
Yeah.
Have you been able to improve those even more as you've gone on, or was that something that you particularly are good at teaching?
Absolutely, in terms of a desire, like, you know, I believe the game should be played on both sides of the ball, and we got to master it. But I trust my assistant coaches, especially Evo and Taj Finger, to really anchor our defense. And I lock in a lot more on the offensive side. Just because when you play for a guy like Kevin O'Neal, you're defensive minded. Then you play for a guy like Bill Carmody, you become offensive minded. So I always fashion myself as both. But then I went and worked for Coach Carmody for 7 years, and so that offensive minded bug just kept getting scratched. And so I enjoy just the ball movement, player movement, how we're going to score. We haven't shot the ball as well from three as I would have liked, but from two we get a lot. We're very efficient, and our offensive numbers are going to get even better with how we've recruited and how we're developing. Now we're changing a lot of what we're doing. We're opening it up even more, giving the guys more freedom. And I just think that now going into year 4, we got the right personnel to really allow them to expand their games. We want to play fast. We want to shoot a lot. And I think this year you'll see an even bigger uptick in our offensive numbers.
How much does your assistant coach um, where's my list of coaches? Evo Simone. How
Yeah.
much does he impact your coaching style? I
No,
mean,
big time.
he's learning things from you, but I'm sure you're learning things from him.
Yeah, no, definitely. Evo's he's been a head coach for a long time over in Europe, and so just being able to understand how they do things, how his experiences were in Serbia and in Spain, it's really made a huge impact for our team. His stories with our players, just from a professional side, that's what they all aspire to be, and so that's really helped. But especially defensively. I said to the staff today, offense is more creativity and freedom and confidence, but defense got to be hardcore and rigid. And that's kind of Evo's job with us in that regard. But I have a great staff across the board. Taj Finger played at Stanford. He was with me at Georgia Tech as a GA. He worked for the G League, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So he's got some professional experience as well that he's been able to bring in. He's 6'9", so he can bang around with these big guys that we have.
And then I wanted to jump in. The other members of your staff, you are very rare. You hired a woman to be part of your coaching staff, Corinne Adams.
Yep.
And then you have a woman, Sydney Hines, as director of basketball operations. That's a pretty diverse group of people, and it speaks to you being willing to see what women can do, gender aside, and take them for that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look across the board, you look across the aisle in the women's game, I would say, I don't know about all, but I would say probably the vast majority of the staffs have a man coaching the girls, coaching the women. And some have multiple, including head coaches. So for the fact that we only have one woman in the NCAA right now. Now she's not the first.
Right.
And even last year, Ednisha Curry. So it's 2 at last year. She was with Maine, and she's gone on to work for the Portland Trailblazers. But Coach Tiny, being the only woman assistant coach in the country, is a credit to Coach Tiny and her capabilities. But it's also something that needs to change. And we
Good
didn't.
for you.
Yeah, and she's good. Like, I mean, there's no doubt. Like, I don't even need to say that. Like, she wouldn't be here if she wasn't. But I want to, just emphasize the fact that Coach Tiny was a killer in college down the street at Morgan State.
Right.
She's the all-time leader, and scoring and rebound, or no, not rebounds. She's close in rebounds.
How
But
did you come up with the idea to hire her though? Was it,
you you know,
it's very forward thinking and out of the box. There's no question about it.
yeah, when the assistant spot opened up, a few things kind of lined up. Number one, we were on Zooms a lot, and so I got a chance to get to know Coach Curry from Maine,
Right.
and not even on a super personal level, but I guess got a chance to get to hear her speak a lot, and we did interact some, and so that was one thing that had it on my mind. Another, there was my daughter. She's playing AAU ball. And so there was a coach that I was very interested in speaking with about the job who was interested the year before. But then she had just recently taken a job with Nike, played in the WNBA.
Right.
And so she and I had a long conversation. But, you know, true story, Stan, during the pandemic, I'm cleaning my home office and I had already had those thoughts in my mind, but I wasn't going to go hire someone just to hire them,
Right.
just to prove a point or anything like that. That's not how we do things. But I end up finding Coach Tiny's book. She wrote a book called "Tiny Setbacks for Major Comebacks," and in it had a note to me from a few years before, and I was intrigued. And so I called Kevin Brodus because I looked her up and saw she was working at Morgan State with the men's team. And I called Kevin Brodus and just started asking him about her. And we had a long talk, and the way he described her and her personality was what I was looking for. And so we ended up meeting, we ended up talking, and here we are a year later, and she's done a great job for us.
Do you find much blowback from the players, or are they accepting of a woman, or does some or a couple of them chafe at the bit by taking instruction from a woman?
No, not even a little bit. It's actually the opposite, and not just because not because she's a woman. We have good guys,
Yeah.
and they trust, and because we do have those conversations, they trust the decisions we make. They trust the process. They trust what we're doing. But all of our guys work with Coach Tiny. She works with all of our guys, and a good portion of them gravitate to her, especially again with her playing career and her experience playing in Europe. She's very good at player development, especially with our guards, and our guards seek her out all the time to help get better.
We're talking with Tavaras Hardy, and it's been a while we've been talking. And I just wanted to ask you before we go, your team this year seems like it's got a chance to be a good blend of some new young energy, some players that have experience. But one of the more important things at this level, this looks like it's got a chance to be a very entertaining team to watch and for people to come out to Loyola, the Reitz Arena, and see them.
Absolutely. There's such a need right now, in my opinion, for some excitement around this area.
Yep.
And I think we're right on the cusp of being able to provide that. But we need that support. We need folks to come get behind us. If you watch the way we play, it's going to be a fun thing to watch. We're going to get up tempo. We're going to shoot the ball. We're going to try to play just an open team style of basketball that everyone who's a fan of the game will enjoy watching. But then also beyond that, get to know our players. We have a great group. We have a diverse team in addition to a diverse staff, and so I think we're on the cusp of something special. But we are young, with 5 freshmen that we expect to play, and even our sophomores. I call them sort of extended freshmen because their season was so awkward and cut short last year. And so between those 7 guys, we got some building to do. But with Jalen Andrews, Cam Spencer, Golden DK, Kenny Jones, they played a lot of minutes. And so I expect those guys to be able to lead our young guys. And you combine that old knowledge with our young talent, and I think you got a team that's going to continue to grow and get better.
Hey, I know it's part of the business. You've got an AD and Donna Woodruff over there at Loyola. Do you sense that she has your back and she likes where you're taking the program? do you have ongoing communications with her?
Absolutely. We talk all the time. You know, I probably stop off in her office a little bit too much, but she's never kicked me out. I can get a sense if she's in a hurry and she's got something to do, but that's rare. We talk about everything. She's been fantastic. I'm so appreciative that she gave me this opportunity. I love the way that she supports our program, but not just us. She supports all the programs. Just made a great hire with our new women's coach, and you know, it's just one of those things. But you know, myself and Coach Danny O'Bannon, like we're ready to get this thing rolling. We want to mirror what's going on down the street with lacrosse. You know, the men's and women's lacrosse team always winning Patriot League championships, always going to the NCAA tournament. Both soccer teams are growing. Our women's volleyball team right now has gotten off to the best start that they've had in program history. They just swept Navy the other day for the first time in forever. And so, you know, we're all trying to get out there and support each other, get our players supporting each other because we got something special at Loyola. And we owe a lot of credit to Donna for helping us create this family.
You know, it's interesting, and you're the first basketball guy I've talked to in a good while. So I got one more thing to talk about. Coach K is retiring.
Mhm.
You know Chris Collins pretty well. He's coaching your alma mater out there at Northwestern, and I'm sure you know Wojo, Steve Wojciechowski, pretty well. The two of them spent an awful lot of time sitting next to Coach K, and you and I know it. They wanted that job, and John Shire came along, a much more recent graduate than the two of them, when they both went out to to find if they could make it on their own. And Coach Collins is still at Northwestern. Coach Wojo is let go by Marquette after last season. Shire's there now. He's taking over. Are you shocked at the level of player he's getting right now?
Mhm.
That
Uh,
he's going to have probably the number one recruiting class for
yeah,
next year.
yeah, no, he's got it rolling. And you know, and also, you know, Johnny Dawkins was there a
Yep.
long time.
Johnny Dawkins was there
Yeah,
10
yeah,
years,
yeah.
12 years.
Yep, and Tommy Amaker's done such a great job at Harvard. So
Yep.
they certainly had some alums that were out there. But I've known Shire a long time. He actually played on, you know, a younger version of my AAU program back when I played. And obviously he was a great player, great person. You know, I'm not surprised because you know, not to downplay him, but Duke is Duke, and that
Yep.
ain't he's not changing. And the history and the tradition. But you know, he was sort of a resurgence. You know, just in terms of going after some of the guys that they've gotten recently.
Yep.
And you know, I know that Coach K and the decision makers wouldn't have given him that opportunity if they didn't feel confident that he's going to be able to take it and run with it. So I'm excited for him. You know, I'm rooting for him as a fellow Illinois person.
You,
So you know, we'll just see. Yeah, I
it's
don't.
interesting. It's interesting when you get that level of player, though. The one thing that seems to always be missing now with Duke, they're always going to be real good, but do they have the experience to win a championship? And with all those young players and the turnover, there's always a churn of talent and new talent.
Yeah, no, that is a challenge at that level. I mean, again, I look at Georgia Tech, obviously coming from there and them winning the ACC tournament championship this year. They did it with old guys.
Yep.
You know, Jose Alvarado and Moses Wright were there for 4 years, and that makes such a big difference. Um, you know, but some of those guys are so talented that they can make up for it. So it'll be interesting to see. I am a fan of college basketball, so
I
I
know
enjoy
you are.
watching the different styles. But I am a believer in what we're trying to build at Loyola is, you know, we want to get old and we want to stay old because you know that's the way you build sustained success.
All right, Tavaras Hardy, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I'll be out to see a couple games this year, no doubt about it, and we'll get you on again. But I really appreciate the time tonight.
All right, thank you, Stan. I really appreciate you for having me.
All right. Want to remind folks that this Press Box Live has been brought to you by C3 American Exteriors. And it's interesting, Coach Tavares used the term like and trust. And that's what I say. There's three boxes when you're contemplating fixing an expensive fix of a roof or replacement of a roof. Got to know the people, like the people, trust the people. Those are three boxes that C3 American Exteriors always checks off for me. We'll be back Monday night. Ross Grimsley and I will have Bill Spaceman Lee on audio only. But next Wednesday, I can tell you at 8 o'clock, we're going to have the general manager of the Washington Wizards, Tommy Shepard. For Tavaras Hardy, the head coach at Loyola, University of Maryland, I'm Stan the Fan Charles, and we'll see you down the road.